So let me pick up on our third part for the Bootstrap, the Bootstrap for your class project with it. So we left off on this little notepad. I kind of put a note on here and all these with it, so you can see at the same time as I talk on here as well with it. So let me minimize that and get back to here with it. And we started out with in your visual code. I had you put a skeleton on here, and it's just a basic layout too with it using Bootstrap with it. If you want to just change this, modify this, and say using Bootstrap in here with it. So a couple of things I want you to modify some of the stuff. Go inside your HTML at the bottom. This doesn't matter, but let me just add in a little bit in here with this. Well, I'd like for you to add the language is the attribute is in here for English, in case of in the future if you have to pull up a website, an international website, and you need to learn how the web page is configured for an English character keyboard with it as well. It just helps when you start to do this. And the second one, in between your head tag, besides your title tag that you have with it, I'd like for you to add a meta tag in here with a character set of our keyboard is UT-8 is our keyboard with it. Come to the right of that and close that tag off with it. Alright, so this is where I want you just to modify, just add in the language as English, and we're going to use a character set of our most ASCII table is UT8 UT-8 with it as well. We're going to put in some more in here. Don't worry, I'm going to leave that little blank in here as well with it. So the second thing I want to talk to you about is the Bootstrap is the first. Here, let me put this back here, and we're going to talk about this because I made a point on this thing because one of the things is that this is a test question I need for you to know. The first, the Bootstrap 3 is a model first. It's a mobile first design with it. So it's now we're using Bootstrap 4 to be exact. Okay, so Bootstrap 3 is designed to be responsive to mobile devices. So it puts the priority on all mobile, like cell phones and tablets, is the key framework with it. So just to make sure it properly render, meaning how it loads and the layout with it, and the touch zooming, the pinching, and the widening of that, that's why we use the meta tag that we did up there is the UT8 meta tag inside of the head tags with it. So that's why you have with it. So you're going to add in one more line of code with it. So we're going to actually just to have a little bit background on this is that the Bootstrap 3 is what you're going to start out with it, and two things I need for you to know. So I need for you to come in at this time. Let me drop this down here in a second here. The second line of code I need for you to use is your meta tag is meta name, and this is your name, that the attribute that you're going to use, the viewport with it. It allows you to pinch and widen, how we use in our phone with it. And we're going to do content with the width equals the device dash width. Okay, so comma, and we're going to initialize initial dash scale to equal to 1. Now, those of you that had me for JavaScript or any programming class with it, remember anytime when you have an equal sign, that means the right side equals the left side. Alright? Again, anytime when you look at an equal sign, the right side, this whole right side right here in this particular quote, is stored into the content. So what you're saying in this particular properties that you're saying is you're going to set this initial scale to 1 basically, but it has to be written the values to the right, stores that into the properties. The device width is stored into the width right here with it. So this whole properties that you have with this parameter separated by a comma is storing the content with it. All right, does that make sense? So anytime when you look at an equal sign in programming, by default with it, it's, as a reflex, think the right side stored to the left side with it. All right. So those are the two lines that we just add just to modify some of the stuff that we just talked about with it. So let me give you a little documentations on some of the stuff that we just talked about with it. This will vary on your device with it. So let me tell you. Let me comment this right above it. I'm going to do a forward slash, not forward slash. In HTML, you do what? This. All right. Remember this? How we comment stuff out. So I'm just going to comment out the line right underneath it. Let me word wrap this as well with it. So this is so the width device is part of the set of the page to follow with the screen device width, which will vary on device with it. All right, that's one. The second one that we are looking at is the initial dash scale equal to 1. This right here. All right. What does this mean? This, the part that sets the initial zoom when you first load in your browser with it. So whether it is any type of device that you want to, so that's what that does to that with it as well. So just to give you some understanding of the attributes and the property that's stored in the meta tags right now with it. All right. Come down here, let's take a look at this. I want you, third part I want to talk to you about is what's called the container. All right. Now the container, there's 3 types of containers we're going to talk about with it. So Bootstrap also requires you that, different, again, how it wraps and how things change with it. So when we talk about the containers, plural, let me pull. I just need a pad here to talk about here. So let me I just zoom back down here with this. Well, so give us some space. So we're talking about the containers in this. So the Bootstrap also requires you to use the containing elements to wrap the site around. So whether it's an iPhone 4 or 5, which I don't think exists out there anymore with it, but let's say you have something smaller than an iPhone 6 or 6 Plus with it that's still floating out there at this time with it. I mean, there has to be a way or any lower resolution that allows the wrapping of the information to come around it, right? That's the key thing. So that's what Bootstrap and responsive allows you to do, is actually wrap the content and the layout with it. So so the Bootstrap moves this content, and how does it move it? I mean, how do the 2 container classes that we're going to use with it as well? So there are 2 container classes to choose from. All right, one is just your regular container, and the second one is the container fluid. I'm going to talk to you about the first one right now. All right, so the first one is, remember how when we call a class, all right, which is kind of like a blueprint, all right, classes is plural. So I want you to think about a class is, remember in CSS, is a blueprint. So it is a set of instruction like a house you're building. So it's a blueprint of a house with it. Well, classes start out with what? A dot syntax, the dot annotation, all right. Remember, ID starts out with a pound, or however you want to call this, hashtag or whatever, if you're comfortable with. So the class, remember what's the difference between a class and ID? ID is only happens one time on the page, whereas a class, you can repeat multiple classes with it. Anyways, that's a CSS question. So in a class that provides a responsive fixed width, this is a test question, by the way, I need for you to know. So this is I'm going to put TQ. All right. So make sure you know that. The dot container provides a responsive fixed container with it. So I'm going to talk about what does it mean by fixed with it in a second here. The second one is the container fluid class with it. So this one, let me put number 2 here. with it. So these are the two different classes that you have with it. So this is the container class, provides a full with container with it as well. Let me show you what it looks like. Let me show you what it looks like. What? Well, darn, I'm approaching my ending here for my third video. So I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to pick it up on the next part 4. Okay, so bear with me. I need to explain this with it, and we're going to pick up the coding here in a second, but I want to slow this down for you to understand Bootstrap with it. So I want to stop the video. This is the end of part 3.